Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi. Violence in Manipur. A lot of people that are following my channel have been asking about if Dev Talks would be doing a video on this particular subject. Of course, I will be doing a video on this particular subject, but if you know what Dev Talk stands for, it stands for reality and quality. And for that, I was waiting for a special person who knows that area, who knows the people in that area. This area is dominated by tribal loyalties, a tribal culture, a culture that you and I, sitting in the central part of India or the southern or the northern part of India, may not understand. I have with me Lieutenant General Shokin Chauhan. Sir, hello and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adi. Good to be with you again, and I'm looking forward to the show. I've,
Pleasure's mine, sir.
yeah, it's an interesting time to be discussing Manipur. Uh, we thought we'd controlled it, then things have again tumbled out. Yesterday was again a slight disaster, but we're hoping that things improve. You're aware that the Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, is in Imphal today, along with the Army Chief, the Eastern Army Commander, and a host of other senior officers. And I'm sure something more will come out of this. And I'm sure after this, we will have Manipur on the road to recovery, or at least to some kind of normalcy.
This is the first time we've seen in recent history, if I may, that one of the states in the northeast has kind of blown up. It's not something which has happened. Things were actually calming down, and to all the viewers that will be watching this, me and I've had the pleasure of talking to sir about each one of these states in separate, and this was done about a year and a half ago. You can dig it out; it's there. You can look at the tribal loyalties that sir has described very, very carefully of each one of these states, and sir has actually told us about how things have settled down there. So, sir, what's the cause? What happened here?
Adi, I explained this to you, but let me just go back to explaining what Manipur and what the Northeast actually is. Manipur is the southern state to Nagaland, and then southwest of Manipur is the state of Mizoram. Now, Arunachal, Nagaland, Manipur, and Mizoram, all these four states border a 1700-kilometer long international boundary with Myanmar. In some of my talks about the Northeast, I have shown how from the first century AD, or maybe even earlier, there have been migrations of tribes into from Myanmar into our Northeast at different times. These tribes have come in and made the Northeast their home. Now, in this particular place, the Meitei tribe is supposed to have come in around between the 14th and 15th century and established the kingdom of Manipur. And it is this kingdom of Manipur that was taken over by the campaigns of the Mayan or the Burmese kings. And it is actually this kingdom of Manipur that went to the British, who were at that time heading the colony of India, to say that, look, we want to get rid of the Burmese Empire, so please come and help us. So in the 18th century, that is the 19th century, but the early 18th century, going right up till 1854, they were what you call the Anglo-Burma campaigns. The Anglo-Burmese War, the first one, the second one, and finally the third one, which finished in 1854. By that time, Adi, the British had taken over the entire northeast and also taken over the entire Burmese Empire. And because it was one single empire, we again found that there was no single international boundary, and therefore the tribes started immigrating towards what they saw were better pastures, better better land, better water, in all a better way of life. So while the Meitei are slightly earlier settlers, probably 4 centuries before the Kukis who came in. The Kukis came between the early 19th century, between 1900s to say the 1920, 1925, and fought a vast number of wars, rather small campaigns and skirmishes with the British called the Anglo-Kuki Wars. And then they settled down in some places of the Northeast. So when the British left India on the 15th of August 1947, the Kingdom of Manipur was one of the first kingdoms that actually said that we, in unison, hand over our kingdom to the Republic of India. There are stories that maybe the Raja of Manipur was forced to say that, but the issue is that Manipur and Tripura were among the first kingdoms that entirely said that we hand over our kingdoms to the new Republic of India. So at that period of time, Adi, the Meitei, who identify themselves as Vaishnav Hindus, and this is a story that seems very credible, were offered the status of a scheduled tribe. And they said no. We are high caste Hindus and we are not scheduled tribes. And therefore we don't accept that. When the issue of reservations came, the Maitis are much better educated, have excelled in sports, and as you are aware, the Indian hockey team, the Indian boxing team, and a vast number of other national teams have within their ranks a large number of Manipuri players, Meitei players, as well as Naga players. The famous Mary Kom, she is also a Manipuri, though she's a Naga, a Kom Naga from Manipur. So they are excellent in sports. They have identified they're excellent in academics, and they can compete with the rest of India at any one time. But why this need to have riots against the the single judge judgment of saying that Manipuris too should be considered for scheduled tribe status? Now, you can imagine that over the last 75 years, rather last 20, 25 years, certain sections of the Meitei community have been saying that we are losing out on the reservations in the state. And therefore, we should also be considered for the status of a scheduled tribe. But in this particular place, the Supreme Court has said that they can't get anybody further into it now. Those roles were designated at a particular period of time. Now we can't start making more and more people as scheduled tribes. So the two issues that stand out are that on the 3rd, 4th of May, the Chief Minister went to Churachandpur to hold a rally. During that rally, his stage was burnt by the Kuki students and he was forced to flee. 6 days later, on the 9th of May, riots started in Imphal against the Kuki settlements in Imphal. Now, if you were to draw a map, Adi, and I'd be grateful you can get that map of Manipur so that you can show it to people. I know it I mean I'm
Now,
absolutely clear.
allow me a minute, sir. I'll upload it
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
Please continue, sir. I'll upload it right now.
So you will see two things. There are the north of Manipur is the part that connects to Myanmar, right? Rather, yeah, the east of Manipur is what connects it to Myanmar. So the easternmost point in the state of Manipur is a small town called More. More to Imphal is an excellent road, but it is also the road through which 100% of the trade from the Southeast Asia, if they're coming by road, come through the More Imphal axis. And similarly, the trade from India, if it is going by road, goes via the Imphal More axis. Yeah. More is right down, as you can see.
In the green spot.
East, south, yeah. The southeast. That's the road. So from More, you come to Kakching, and from Kakching, you go northward to Imphal. This is the
Thopal and
only
Imphal.
road that is there to carry trade through to More and further on into Myanmar. In More itself, we have a customs post which is also manned by the Assam Rifles. And there is also a 1 kilometer fence that we had tried to put, but we couldn't succeed. Now, by doing what they did in Imphal, demographically, the road from More to Kakching and from Kakching to Imphal is dominated by Kuki tribes having settled themselves all along the road. Thus, they control the access to Imphal. When the Kuki settlements were targeted on the 9th of May, and in a retaliation, the Kukis retaliated in Churachandpur and a large number of places. Now, Churachandpur is, if you look northward, yeah, have you been able to? Rather, if you take a straight line from that is south of Imphal, you go towards Bishnupur, and from Bishnupur you come down to a small
Okay.
district called Churachandpur.
In the large purple region bordering
Yeah,
Mizoram, a little north of that.
yeah, yeah. So Churachandpur has also a large boundary with Mizoram as well as with Myanmar. And Churachandpur is also the district where that Colonel Tripathi was killed
With his family,
last
yes.
last year. And Churachandpur has a fair sprinkling of Kuki tribes, different Kuki tribes. So they control this access from More to Imphal. They also control the movement of all the roads going from Myanmar into the state of Manipur or Mizoram. So when this retaliation happened after what had happened in Imphal, the families, the people, the Meiteis who had settled down in Churachandpur were targeted. And as a result, the Kukis targeted the Meiteis in the far-flung areas, and the Meiteis targeted the Kukis and a couple of other small tribes in the Imphal Valley. The issue was when I spoke to a large number of people, there were two issues being thrown around. One was that once Chief Minister Biren had started targeting the poppy cultivations in the Kuki areas, this retaliation happened from the Kukis. This is very far from the truth, Adi. It's not right. Chief Minister Biren has targeted them, but very little. Not that much that would actually instigate this kind of fire, this kind of reaction towards them. To my mind, and to a large number of people who have studied the situation, and I'm certain that a court of inquiry or a judicial an inquiry will show that both these issues happened together. The targeting of people settled in Imphal other than the Meiteis, and the targeting of the Meiteis in different districts. Now, there are two things here, Adi. The Imphal Valley is just 20% of the landmass of the balance of Manipur. The 80% of this landmass is actually the hills, the hill districts, where the population, demographic population, is 100% or maybe 99% other tribes. For example, you go north, you go northeast of Imphal, you go to a small district, very large district rather, the district of Ukhrul.
Mm.
Ukhrul is populated by the Tangkhuls, who also control the NSC and IM. Similarly, you go to Senapati. Senapati has a large number of Anal Nagas, foam Nagas. So, in each one of these different districts that surround the valley of Imphal, you have a different tribe of the Nagas. So, while the all Manipur tribal communities are shown to have reacted, in reality, it is only the Kukis that reacted to the selected targeting of their families and their people inside the Imphal Valley. Now, as per Article 371 Charlie, that is 371C, the hill districts, the land is controlled by the communities there themselves. Meiteis are not permitted to settle down in the hill districts. While the Imphal Valley, other communities can settle down and can buy land there. So, is this a demographic problem? Is this a mighty targeting to, to be able to buy land elsewhere? Is this a need to divide communities so that you can get some kind of political, political, uh,
Concession.
how should I, yeah, you manage to get the mighty vote behind you because while the Meiteis occupy 20% of Manipur, they are about 60% population of the complete Manipur state. So if you go to the Imphal Valley is a very tightly strung community, mainly because 60% of the population stays in just 20% of the landmass. So there is a fair amount of problems where water is concerned, land is concerned, roads are concerned, but it is also the only plain area of Manipur. So the first issue is it an economic issue? Second issue is it a community issue? Third issue is it a political issue? And fourth issue is that if this poppy cultivation that is supposed to be taking place in the Kuki areas, where is these poppy flowers that are being cultivated, where are they going to actually? Are they going back to Myanmar for creation into heroin? Are there any other laboratories inside Manipur? Are there politicians involved? Because politicians are involved in everything. So I am not prepared to believe that, Adi, that these riots are innocent of any one of these issues. To my mind, the instigator of the violence in Manipur could be found from who gains from the poppy cultivation and the drug, the illegal narcotic trade that takes place from Myanmar into Imphal.
That's, I mean, that's a side of the story. Honestly, I haven't, I haven't read. I mean, there's just so, but you've told us the difference between the hill tribes and the rest. If there has been that kind of distinction, right? Uh, I could understand a clash in a localized space, in one locality or another locality here and there. this seems to be spread out a little, little further than that. At least seems to
Not
be. Am I right in my observation,
n-
or is it
not
something totally different, sir?
Adi, the attacks are, as of yesterday, the attacks were on the far-flung areas of the Imphal Valley.
Sir,
But the Kukis and the Meiteis have fought inside the, the localities of the Imphal Valley and Churachandpur district only. So it is not as far-flung as you would like to see. On a map, it's very clear. The violence in
small
Manipur
units.
is limited to the Imphal Valley and the district of Churachandpur.
I think that is the problem with our own narrative. And if I may just put the map back again, we look
Yeah.
at Manipur, you know, all over Manipur.
Yeah.
But
The,
it is these little small districts where the issue is there. And
yeah.
it's
There is no
because,
problem in None. There is no problem in Jiribam. Churachandpur, south of Imphal, there's a problem. There's no problem in Technopal, no problem in Chandel, no problem in Kamjong, no problem in Ukrul, no problem in Senapati.
thank you so much for
Now,
clarifying that.
I, I,
Now,
I would, my suggestion would be that in Nagaland, all 16 Naga tribes have scheduled tribe status. All 16. All are allowed reservation, but state reservation. There's a difference. There's a central reservation for scheduled tribe, and there's a state reservation. The state reservation is limited to through an act of the Nagaland Parliament, the Nagaland House, limited to the eight weaker tribal tribes and not the eight stronger tribes who have had better education. So if there was to be a problem like this, Manipur only had to look northward to see find a solution to this issue of reservation. There is simply no need to fight this the way they fought this.
something would have instigated this. What, I mean,
So the two issues that they say instigated, one was a judgment by the
sir,
single judge who
yes,
said that Meitei should be considered, and therefore, as a retaliation, the all tribal students union retaliated, but in reality, it was the Kukis. And in retaliation to that, the Meiteis retaliated against the Kuki Bastis in Imphal. Now, who retaliated first? How did it happen? Is a matter, like I said, that can only be seen once there's a judicial inquiry.
but you
Timeline
said,
wise, I said that
sorry,
on the 3rd, 4th of May, the
yeah,
chief minister was addressing a rally in Churachandpur.
correct.
The all tribal union burnt up the place of the rally, and the chief minister had to flee. This happened in Churachandpur. 6 days later, there is a retaliation in the Imphal Valley against Kuki Bastis, and as a sub retaliation against the mighty Bastis in Imphal or Churachandpur. Now, I don't know if you're aware that we had 6 Kuki insurgent groups that were under suspension of operations with us.
Correct.
And suspension of operations meant that unlike the agreement that we have with the Naga NSCNs, the 4 NSCNs of the Nagaland, in the Sioux tribe, we have actually locked up their weapons. But in one camp, Kuki miscreants were allowed to steal all the weapons. Similarly, the Manipur rifles and the Manipur police seem to have been raided and have lost over 400 plus weapons. And all this has not happened in a day. It has happened over the period of the last couple of months. In March, the chief minister announced that the SU, the suspension of operations on three of these Kuki groups, would be revoked. So the issue is, Adi, there is some issue that has been brewing around for the last 5 to 6 months. It should have been brought under control and not allowed to go up like this. But if you notice, the NSC and IM has not said a word.
Mm,
Ukhrul has not done anything.
none of these groups have said
None
anything.
of this. Then why only this? If it is the all Manipur Tribal Students Union, the other tribes should also have stood up, which they have.
Which is what tells me, sir, the what I mean, you've kind of clarified a whole lot. That I've been reading a lot about this, and people have not brought it around like the tribal, this thing. They've talked about the tribal issues and this and that, but it's just that the let me rephrase that. They've put it as a mainstream Hindu versus other tribe sort of a game, which
Which
is
is
not the case.
absolutely false. Which is absolutely
Which is
false.
not the case. So that's
No,
something that you brought out, and that's mind-boggling to me right now, because the narrative in our media, in our writings, and in our so-called journalists and this and that is that, which is what brings me to a question. If it is now tribal based, and then there is this all tribes students union that actually reacted, these tribes have loyalties, they have connections, contacts all over the place, all over the region in that
absolutely,
case.
absolutely. All
It's
the
not like,
tribal, especially the Kuki tribal groups,
yeah, yeah.
have links to the insurgent groups in Myanmar.
Myanmar, either of those, har
And
jagah they've got,
and if there is narcotics trade taking place, everyone's gaining here, Adi. So if this poppy cultivation was being, and let me tell you, as the BG Assam Rifles, we have been very strict about poppy cultivation, and we wherever we got a chance, we used to destroy the poppy cultivation. So it's not today's story. The Assam Rifles has got a huge amount of drugs, huge amount of narcotics, and the
yeah,
orders to
recently.
the troops are wherever they go, if they see poppy cultivation, is going to be destroyed.
Recently, we had that hall. Last time, I think we spoke about the
Absolutely,
Northeast.
absolutely.
Uh, we had that
So
huge hall when.
why now? Why now? Did that single judgment trigger it? Is there another aim politically to get people together? Uh, eight of the eight BJP MLAs have actually, who are cookies, have actually written to the Home Minister saying that we don't trust the leadership of Mr. Biren Singh, the Chief Minister of Manipur. They're BJP. It's within the same community. It's within the same party.
Something is happening
I
there.
am unable to place the issue, but in perspective, I would say that this problem, it has been brewing over last couple of months. The weapons have been allowed to be looted. This violence was planned, and it is not as simplistic as uh, Hindu, Christian, or
It's not.
anything else that they might
Yeah.
want to color it as.
I mean, I've interacted with my share of people from the Northeast, and I know they're religious, but they don't throw it on your face.
No, they
They
don't.
don't have that as their culture, that they'll just bang it on your face all the time. It's not that. They're very
Yeah.
calm people. Uh, Sir, we know in the Northeast, from bases in Bangladesh, from alleged bases in Myanmar. I'm not very sure, but I've read certain places. Organizations like the Jamaat-e-Islami and all that have been funneling in a lot of nonsense, money. A whole lot of nefarious activities have been happening, and they've had in history some sort of a contact within certain groups to create certain amounts of chaos within the region. And then you've also got the prying eyes of China, uh, who would obviously not, you know, leave an opportunity like that. Although he has no interest in Manipur, uh, he won't leave an opportunity like that. What I mean, keeping these two guys separate or together, what do you think is a possibility of any sort of collusion, sir?
Adi, I've spoken about this earlier. If you go into Myanmar, and northern Myanmar actually is borders the Republic of China. There's a town in northern Myanmar, the Yunnan province.
Really?
The border town is called Ruli. That is anyway a grey weapon area. That means a lot of these insurgent groups, after extortion or after earning money in this drug illegal trade, go northward to Yunnan to buy weapons there. The unseen hidden hand of China, I am unable to comment on, but I'm certain that the Kuki insurgent groups do get a lot of help from some of the Myanmar insurgent groups in terms of money, and they in turn help them in this illegal trade that takes place. Whether the trade is in narcotics, wild animals, exotic animals, weapons, uh, it can be anything.
Why I ask is a lot of this used to happen through via Bangladesh, sir, and that's very
Now
ominous
Bangladesh seems to have stopped
now.
completely.
But
Yeah, because
they still have to be those links which are there, which are alive, and
but that was main more for the Jamaat or for the
for the,
Muslim communities in South Assam. And the Panghal Manipuris, who are Muslims, have not been involved in this at all. So that part seems unlikely, Adi.
and with the junta in Myanmar, the opposition groups obviously need to raise money to whatever do their fights
Yeah,
and stuff like that. And what's the
yeah, yeah,
easiest way to do it?
yeah.
And we've seen this post the junta came into power, the kind of drugs that, and we've discussed this as a matter of fact. You and I have taken this up that when they came into power, that we need to be careful because a lot of kachra will start coming in towards us, and a lot of these uh, triggering incidents and all that stuff will happen. So this is a backlash of what has happened in Myanmar, sir.
Absolutely. It. What I am clear about is that it's not a simple riot. It has been planned for some time, and in this planning, uh, the politicians have taken advantage of it. They have created a permanent rift between two communities. Now, I used to be a young major in Ukhrul. I was a company commander, and at that time, the Tangkhuls and the Kukis were at war in 88, 89, 90. And the Kukis were being absolutely massacred by the Tangkhuls. And we had to protect maybe 6 to 8 Kuki villages in our area of in our AORs, area of responsibility. But the Kukis versus the Meiteis is something that has not really come out uh, that much till this time. And like I
My
said,
last
the cookies control this road. They control access to this road. They control the hills dominating this road demographically. But it is not so simple as just to paint it as a inter-religious or inter-communal battle.
So, last question to you. I mean, the beginning still is kind of a little weird to me because the judgment, let's say you spoke about the judgment, and the reaction should have been towards the authorities, but it actually came out on the tribe. And you know, how did this kind of formulate itself? Because the reaction was given by the judiciary. So, okay, fine. If I understand if they do a protest against the state or the state machinery and say, you know what, we're not happy with what you guys are doing. Protests happen all the time. That's fine. But the idea of hitting another tribe,
Doesn't make sense. And the fact that weapons have been looted over the last couple of months, that means there was something being planned from both sides.
from both sides.
Absolutely. It's
That
very sad
leaves.
because Manipur is the land of gold. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. The Manipuris, the Meiteis, and all the others are can compete with anyone in the world, Adi. They don't need uh, reservation. They don't need it. Only within the state they might feel that they're losing out. So that can be a division of responsibility. It can be division of a few seats. That shouldn't be a major problem. But it could have been handled much better. And the issue is that after the 3rd, 4th May attack on the Chief Minister Biren, this attack takes place on the night of May 9th. And maybe it was a retaliation, maybe, I'm not sure, but it is suspect.
Message of peace, sir, before we close this video.
Absolutely, because
You
I'm
know these guys.
convinced, I'm convinced that they are wonderful people. I'm convinced that they have great capability, and I can only say that please don't get taken away by this political rhetoric. Each community is very dear to us, and you have not needed to fight each other, because Manipur was developing. I have attended the Manipur Myanmar talks, wherein Manipur was being declared as the center state for Myanmar. Uh, we were trying to develop hospitals in Manipur. We were trying to develop a whole lot of other issues where people from Myanmar could come and take treatment. It is just so close that instead of going towards Rangoon, the people of Myanmar could drive toward Imphal for specialist help. The Imphal was becoming a trade hub, and in the Prime Minister's Act East policy, there were so many things that were happening, which unfortunately will get set back again.
Now, that's a sad note of entering that. I mean, if there are any people watching the show from over there, guys, calm down. You know, no need to
Absolutely,
fight. We can talk
absolutely,
about this. And the funny thing is, the Northeast is now I've personally taken a thing, and I'm not trying to sound any sort of a big thing, but I'm not going to call the central India as mainland. The
absolutely,
mainland is including the Northeast. So there's
absolutely, absolutely,
and
absolutely.
that's what is the culture change that
We
the
need to
prime
do.
minister, yeah, prime minister
See,
did
Adi,
not.
you're from Mysore, and
Yes,
Bangalore. There are so many young northeastern students who are who are studying there as well as also employed there. And if you were to ask any one of them, where are you from, the first thing they would say is Manipur or Nagaland. They would not identify themselves as different tribes. A large number of them would say, I'm from Manipur. And then you would have to dig a little further and say, which part of Manipur? Somebody would say Churachandpur, somebody would say Ukrul, somebody would say Imphal. And then we would be able to find out which tribe they are from. And because I have this connect with the Northeast and I've been in the Northeast for so many years, I would always delve deeper and say, okay, which village, which part of the tribe are you from? Are you from this? Are you from that? And only then they would say. In reality, all of them would say we are Manipuris. So this was the feeling that was coming amongst the younger people. Why have we allowed anybody to divide us further? Imphal was just about developing. Manipur was just developing as the gateway to from India to the southeast of Asia. You didn't
yeah,
need this. We didn't need this violence.
The funny thing is, yeah, with the new ports and all that opening up, with in Bangladesh, there was a whole lot of things that could
Absolutely.
have happened.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Thank you, sir. You know,
Thank
for
you. Thank you.
bringing some light onto this. It
Thank you.
surely shows that we don't understand a lot of things that we should, and I hope
We
things
should be
calm
very
down.
careful when we try and cover up things by putting a particular, label to it. It is not an intercommunal riot. It's not so simple as that.
Sir, thank you so much. As I was saying,
Pleasure.
it's always interesting to learn the insights of a area and talk reality, and that's what I wanted to do. And I've been after you since I think the beginning of the month when this
Yes, yes,
actually
yes.
happened. You were traveling, and I just didn't
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to touch upon this subject without having someone who knows and has the former DG Assam Rifles and someone who spent so much time in that area.
That's right. Yeah.
That's
And who
something that
loves the area so much, who loves the people of Northeast so much.
all I would say is let peace prevail and Jai Hind, sir.
Jai Hind, Adi. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.